Okay, so are you ready to take amazing photos with just your phone?
I think everyone is these days, right?
Seriously, this Tech Talk Nexus episode is a gold mine. We're going to break it all down for you. It's all about smartphone photography.
And how to get those really professional-looking shots.
Yeah, not just like random selfies and blurry food pics.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, the technology is there. The cameras on these phones are incredible.
Insane. But they're only as good as the person using them, right?
Yeah.
That's what I love about this episode. They don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah, they're like, look, if you want to up your game, step one is understanding your camera settings.
Totally. And I'll admit, I'm guilty of just sticking to auto mode like 99% of the time.
It's so easy to do, but think about it. Even like a professional chef, they don't just toss random ingredients in a bowl and hope for the best.
They know their tools. They know their settings.
Yeah, exactly. Your phone's camera app, it's like this little mini studio in your pocket. You've got all these settings there, but you have to know how to use them.
They even say, like, go into your camera settings and actually get familiar with everything. Even the stuff you're like, what is this?
Resolution, aspect ratio, all that stuff.
Okay, resolution, I know that's important.
Huge. It basically determines how much detail your photo can hold. Higher resolution, more flexibility to crop or print later without it getting all pixelated.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. But I gotta say, some of the other settings, they still feel a little intimidating. Like manual focus, exposure.
I get it. Auto mode is comfortable. But think of manual mode like taking control. You're the director.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, so let's say I'm ready to be a director. What do I direct first? Focus?
Exactly. Manual focus, you're telling the camera exactly what you want to be crystal clear.
Instead of it just, like, guessing.
Yes. So if you're taking a portrait, you can make sure the person's eyes are tack sharp.
And get that blurry background effect.
Yes. Bokeh, they call it.
Yeah.
Super professional looking.
Okay, bokeh. Got to remember that one. Now, what about exposure? That one seems kind of technical.
It's really just about controlling the brightness of your image. How much light is hitting your camera sensor. Too much, and it's overexposed, like when everything's just white.
Too little, and it's underexposed, so it's too dark.
Exactly. And it's always better to err on the side of a little bit underexposed.
Really? Wow.
Because you can always brighten it up in editing. But if it's overexposed, you've lost that information, it's gone.
Oh, that's a good tip. So, when in doubt, go a little darker. Got it.
Exactly. Okay, ready for another game changer. Angles and composition.
Oh, yeah. How you actually take the picture.
Huge! So many people just default to eye level, but changing your perspective, it's like adding a whole new dimension.
Like getting down low.
Or up high. The flat lay technique, have you heard of that?
Is that like those photos? Everything's arranged really nicely from above.
Exactly. Food photography, product shots, even just like what's in my bag type stuff.
I love those. They're so satisfying.
They're everywhere for a reason. It's all about finding new perspectives. Speaking of which, remember the rule of thirds?
Oh, yeah, the rule of thirds. I always hear about it, but to be honest, I'm not sure I totally get it.
Okay, imagine a grid over your screen. 2 vertical lines, 2 horizontal lines, dividing it into 9 equal sections.
Okay, got it.
So instead of putting your subject smack dab in the middle, try putting it along those lines, or where the lines intersect.
Like off to the side a little.
Exactly. It just creates a more balanced, interesting composition. Your eye naturally goes there.
Huh. Okay, got to try that. It's amazing how just knowing a simple rule like that can change things. Now, this is something I know we both agree on. Natural light, it's everything. Why is natural light so important for phone photography?
Well, think about how you feel when you step outside. And the light's just perfect. It's soft, it's diffused. That's what natural light does for your photos.
It just makes everything look better.
And more importantly, flattering. Harsh, overhead lighting, not so much. This episode even recommends if you have to shoot in direct sunlight.
Like midday sun. Yikes.
The worst. Try to find some shade. Or use a diffuser. It'll soften that harsh light.
A diffuser. Like for my hairdryer.
Kind of. But basically, it just helps to scatter the light, making it less intense and more flattering for your subject. You can get portable ones for your phone, or even just DIY it with a white sheet or something.
Seriously?
Seriously. It's a game changer, trust me.
Okay, so we've talked cameras, lighting, angles. Time for the fun stuff.
The post-processing magic.
Editing. Everyone always asks, are editing apps really necessary?
Here's the thing. It's like, you bake a cake, right? You could just eat it as is.
Please, I do that all the time. But you're right, there's the extra level.
And editing is that. It's taking something already good and making it amazing, not about making it look fake.
Like, that's what I've been afraid of. I go too crazy with filters sometimes, and it's like, whoa, too much.
Less is more with editing, honestly. What do you find yourself adjusting most often?
Brightness, usually. Sometimes the colors look a little off.
See, that's it. Brightness, contrast, color balance. Master those and you're golden.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What about all those fancy tools, though? Like, I've seen people edit just the eyes in a photo.
Selective editing. It's awesome for fine-tuning, but start with the basics. Download an app, play around.
Snapseed. Lightroom Mobile. They talked about those, right?
Yep. Super powerful, but user-friendly too. Don't be intimidated.
It's easy to get overwhelmed, though.
Yeah.
So much you could do.
My advice, start with one thing at a time. Brightness, then contrast, see what looks good.
Like baby steps.
Exactly. Most apps have that before and after slider too. So you can compare, make sure you like
Oh,
it.
smart. Otherwise, you get carried away and forget what the original even looked like.
All the time. And hey, don't underestimate presets. They can be good starting points.
True, true. Okay, but remember at the beginning they said it's not just about technical stuff.
Right. It's about capturing emotion, telling a story with your photos.
Yes. The best photos, they make you feel something.
Think about it. When you're taking a picture, what are you trying to say? What's the mood?
Oh, that's deep. I usually just think, everyone smile.
But even then, right, it's about that joy, that connection.
Yeah.
You're documenting a moment.
True, true. So how do we get better at that? At capturing the feeling of something?
Pay attention to what's in the frame, for one. The background matters.
Ugh, yes. So guilty of having, like, a messy kitchen behind a cute kid photo.
It happens, but that's part of being a storyteller. You're setting the scene.
Okay, I'm getting a crash course in being visual director today. What else?
Avoid that digital zoom. It's tempting, but
Ruins the quality.
big time. If you can, physically get closer. Or
Yeah.
crop later in editing.
Good to know. Oh, and they said, don't be afraid to break the rules.
Exactly. You're not going to find your style by doing the same thing everyone else does. Play around.
Love that. Okay, back to the slightly scary settings for a sec. Manual focus and exposure. Can you demystify them?
Of course, manual focus just means you're in charge of what's sharp. Helpful in tricky situations, like low light.
Or when my kid won't stop moving.
Exactly. You can lock onto them, get that perfect shot. Exposure's about brightness.
Right, we touched on that earlier. Overexposed, underexposed.
It's all about finding the right balance. You control it with ISO, aperture, shutter speed.
Okay, those sound very official.
ISO is about light sensitivity. Higher ISO for low light, but it can make your photos grainy.
Got it. So brighter picture, but maybe a little less sharp.
Exactly. Aperture's the lens opening. Wider aperture equals that blurry background effect.
Bokeh. I remember it saying.
See, and shutter speed controls how long the sensor is exposed to light. Fast shutter for action shots.
Otherwise, it's all blurry.
Exactly. Play around with these settings, see what happens. You'll get the hang of it.
My mind is blown. So we've got all these tools, but what do we photograph? I mean, I see those amazing travel pics and I'm like, my life's not that interesting.
No, but it has its own beauty. That's the cool part. Look for interesting textures, reflections, light.
You mean like in my house?
Yep. Maybe the way the sunlight hits your coffee cup in the morning.
Being more aware of those little things.
Exactly. Train your eye to see the extraordinary in the ordinary.
I like that. And then when I am somewhere cool, I'll be ready.
Exactly. Experiment with angles, get low, get high.
Speaking of, how do we avoid distractions in the background, besides just, like, cleaning my house before every photo shoot?
Leading lines. Use them to your advantage. They naturally draw the eye.
Oh, like a pass leading into the distance.
Yes. Our eyes follow lines. Also, think about balance in your photos.
Not having everything squished to one side.
Exactly. You want it to feel visually pleasing.
Harmony, not chaos.
Yeah.
Got it. But they also said it's not just about the technical stuff, right? There's got to be more to it than that.
Absolutely. There has to be a story. What's the narrative behind your picture? What are you trying to convey?
Wow, that's deep. I usually just think, cheese.
But think about it. Every photo has the potential to tell a story. It might be a simple story, but it's there.
Okay, so how do we become better storytellers with our photos? Give me the inside scoop.
It starts before you even take the picture. Ask yourself what's special about this moment. What do I want to remember about it?
So be more intentional with what we choose to photograph in the first place.
Exactly. Then think, how can I best capture that? What needs to be in the frame? What kind of motion am I going for?
Okay, this is making my brain work. but in a good way.
Yeah.
I never really thought about it like that before.
It's like being a filmmaker. You have to set the stage, tell the story visually.
Wow, I love that.
Mhm.
So a single picture can be a whole story or even a series of pictures, like a visual story.
Exactly. Just like any good story, there should be a beginning, a middle, and an end to keep the viewer engaged.
Wow, I'm seeing photos in a whole new light now. It's not just about snapping a picture, it's about capturing a moment in time.
Exactly. Okay, ready to dive back into the technical stuff for a bit? Let's talk more about post-processing.
Yes. Editing. Like we said before, our phones can do a lot, but there's no doubt editing can really step things up.
It's like, think about a painter. They need more than just a canvas and some paint, right? They have brushes, palettes, all those tools.
And different techniques they've learned over time.
Exactly. Editing's the same way. It's about bringing your vision to life.
But in a way that still feels authentic. Not like those overly edited photos.
Right. Enhance, don't overtake. Subtlety's key.
Right.
Where do you feel stuck when it comes to editing?
Honestly, just knowing where to start. So many apps, so many options.
Overwhelming, right. You don't need to be a pro. Those apps we mentioned, Snapseed, Lightroom Mobile,
Visiscope.
those are perfect for starting out. Basic adjustments, then some fun stuff too.
And they're free, or pretty affordable, right?
Mostly. Lots of tutorials online too if you want to learn specific things.
Okay, so say I've downloaded an app. What's a good first step?
Check the white balance. That's huge for accurate colors, especially if you're shooting in mixed lighting.
Oh, like indoor lighting at night? It always looks so yellow.
Exactly. White balance can fix that. Or you can use it creatively for a certain vibe.
Ooh, like a vintage look.
Exactly. Then, cropping. You can completely change the feel of a photo just by cropping it differently.
Get rid of that distracting stuff on the edges.
And experiment with different aspect ratios. Square for Instagram, that vertical one for TikTok.
It's true. The same photo can look totally different depending on how you crop it. Okay, this is all great for making photos look good, but can editing really make them more powerful, story-wise?
Definitely. Color grading, for example. Warmer tones can evoke happiness, nostalgia.
Cool tones, more like peaceful, maybe a little mysterious.
See? You're getting it. Vignettes can make a portrait more intimate.
Ooh, I like that. What about filters? Are those okay to use?
In moderation. Think of them like salt. A little can enhance, too much ruins the dish.
I've definitely been guilty of the too much salt approach with filters.
We've all been there. Look for filters that complement your style, not overpower it.
Subtle enhancements. Got it. So much to learn.
That's the fun part. Experiment, see what works for you. There's no right or wrong answer.
Just got to find your own way. I love that. It really is amazing when you think about it, how much creativity we can unlock with just our phones.
It's like the playing field is leveled, right? You don't need a fancy DSLR to capture amazing images anymore.
And edit them like a pro.
Exactly. It's all about your vision, your eye for a good shot. The tools are just there to help you bring it to life.
I love that. It's so empowering. And you know what else struck me from that episode? They talked about how smartphone photography, it's about connection.
Oh, absolutely. It's how we share our world with each other. A beautiful sunset, a special moment with family, even just like you said, a delicious-looking meal.
It's like we're saying, hey, look at this. Isn't it cool?
And on the other side of that, we get to see the world through other people's eyes, too.
Exactly. It's a way to connect with people, share experiences, even if you're miles apart.
And in a world that's so fast-paced, so digital, I think there's something really grounding about that.
Totally. It makes you slow down, appreciate the little things, you know?
Absolutely. It reminds you to be present.
Yes. And I love that this episode encourages us to do that, to get out there, explore, capture those moments, and share them with the world.
Because you never know who might be inspired by what you see.
So well said. This entire deep dive has been so eye-opening. We've covered so much ground. Camera settings, lighting composition, editing, even the philosophy behind taking a great picture.
We really went deep, but that's the thing about photography, isn't it? It's a journey.
Always something new to learn, a new technique to try.
And a new story to tell.
So to all our listeners out there, what are you waiting for? Grab your phones, get creative, and start capturing your world. I can't wait to see what you create.
Me too. Until next time.
Happy shooting.